Ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than the technical marketing engineer, Intel Software, Miss Gayatri. Let's have a big hand for Miss Gayatri.
Good morning, I'm Gayatri. I'm a technical marketing engineer at Intel. So I'm going to be talking about what is an NDK and how to create NDK apps for x86. Any NDK developers here? Okay, cool. So yeah, I have slides that cover what is an NDK and how to build NDK. So you don't worry if you're not an NDK developer. Any Dalvik developers here? Okay. Do you have any experience in running your code on an x86 platform? Okay. So I'm sure you will get to do it within the next 24 hours. Yeah. Right. So let's get started. Please interrupt me if you have any questions. Okay. I would like to keep it, as interactive as possible. Okay, so the agenda is going to be this. I'm going to be talking about what is the difference between an NDK and a Dalvik application, what exactly is an NDK application, and how do you target multiple platforms on your NDK application, and how do you port for x86. And a very short tip, it's a pretty short slide on optimization. Optimization is a pretty huge topic, and we'll be touching on it in different sessions today. Okay, so what is an NDK application? So it's a script or a toolkit that helps you integrate your native code into your Android application, C or C++ code, through the Java native interface. So why do you have to use it? So why do you have to use native code instead of Java? So we work on multiple platforms today. So if you want to take advantage of the platform features for your application, then it becomes essential to use NDK. So mainly it's for performance or very mathematically complex applications which involves a lot of computation. You would rather do an NDK than an Dalvik. Taking advantage of the CPU features is another. So why wouldn't you use NDK? So the performance is not guaranteed always, and the complexity considerably increases because you're using a native code. So there are both advantages and disadvantages of using NDK, and it's up to you to decide if it's essential for your code or not. So what is the difference between Dalvik and NDK applications? So Dalvik, as you know, goes through the Android, the Dalvik virtual machine that the Android platform has. So if you have your Dalvik application, it would run as it is on an x86 platform. From a developer standpoint, there is nothing that you need to do for a Dalvik application. So for NDK, there are three kinds. So one, it would just work with a simple recompile. So you just recompile or rebuild your application with an x86 parameter, and it's just going to work. Second, if you have some third-party libraries which use native code, in which case you have to recompile your third-party library for the targeted platform, which is x86 in this case, and then rebuild your application again. Or if you're using mission intrinsics, code very specific to your CPU, then you have to rework on that code. So these are the three things. So when I say third-party libraries, it also includes game engines. So you might have to run or build your game engine support for x86 and then build your application again. So what is an NDK app? How does it look? So the native libraries are usually .so files. You would be able to find them under the libs CPU_ABI section. I'll show that to you on Eclipse. So an application can make some calls to the native libraries or rely completely on a native library. So we have some statistics on the top Android apps, how many of them are actually NDK apps. So we can share that when we are having a conversation. So these libraries can be a native third-party library or a game engine. And there is nothing like 100% native application. Everything will run in the context of Dalvik. Again, as from a developer standpoint, this is nothing that you need to worry about. The three things that I talked about is what you would have to worry about when it comes to an NDK application. Any questions so far? Okay. So how do you target multiple platforms? So we'll discuss in brief, how do you target and how do you build your application. So when I say build for x86, what do you have to do? Okay, so I'll again show where the JNI folder is located on Eclipse. So you create a file called application.mk file. This is not by default present. So you have to create this file and add the parameter called app_abi equals all. When you put all, it compiles for all platforms, or you could specifically say x86 or ARM. Okay, so you can see a screen. I'm sorry, it's kind of smudged there. You could see that it's building for x86 and ARM as well as ARM here. So you could either build your application from Eclipse, say build project. I'll also show you how to do that, or you could use your console. So how do you package? So APK, the application key that you use, is used by Google Play to identify your application and install the right one for the right platform. So when you put your application on Google Play, you can add multiple APKs, meaning you can have one APK for x86 and one APK for ARM. So that is one option, or you could bundle all of these APKs into one binary, and that is called a FAT binary. So that is the easiest way to go. You package all of them together, and the platform decides which one to install based on the underlying hardware. The Android platform decides which ones to install. Or if you think that when you package everything together, your APK size exceeds 50 MB, then you would as well do a separate APK. So that's what is multiple APK. So you have one APK per architecture. So you have one for x86 and one for ARM. Okay. So when I say that the Android platform would be able to pick the right APK and install depending on the underlying hardware, how does it do? So it does that based on the Android version code. So how do you give this version code for your application? So this is the format. The lowest bit represents, the highest bit represents the platform. Here it is 2 represents ARM and 6 represent x86. The next 2 bits represents the API level. So the API level, so if you look up at developer.android.com, you will be able to see the multiple API levels that the Android platform has, right? So that is the API level. Next 2 bits are the screen size, and the last 3 bits are your app's version. So you have to have this very clear and correct for the platform to pick up the right version code. Right, so how do you give this? So when you want to upload multiple APKs, you have to switch to advanced mode. If you do not do that, this is important. If you do not do that, your one APK is going to overwrite another APK. So if you do that, then it will get added to the list of APKs. So when you actually do this, you may get a feel that it's actually overwriting, but it is not. It's actually creating the list of APKs. You can see the version code here, and in this you can see 2 version codes. Do not forget to use a different version code for different architecture. Any questions so far? Okay.
You said like you can package into a single APK file or a single binary, right? So in that case you have to mention multiple version codes.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and let you know. Yeah. Yeah. I think you will have to use 2 version codes. Again, I'll check and let you know. Do you know Raghavendra? No. I'll check and let you know. Okay, so how do you port process specific code? So anybody here have any apps for Android? Okay. ARM, running on ARM platforms. Okay, so if you have used ARM, the Neon instruction set is ARM specific mission intrinsic code. So how do you port Neon instructions into Intel specific instruction set? So Intel has SSE 3, SSE 4.2, and the latest processor, Silvermont, supports SSE 4.2. So how do you do this? So it's actually, the porting is not trivial, because the one line of Neon mission intrinsic code is not a one-on-one mapping to one line of SSE code. So we have created a header file called neon versus sse.h, which is, you can find that in that URL. I can share that URL with you, and download this .h file and include it in your projects. So it's going to do a conversion from Neon instruction set to x86. Most of the instructions are optimized, so it should work fairly well. Okay, so there is another issue that comes up with respect to porting. So let's say we have a struct here. We have one int variable, one long int, and another int variable. So int consumes 4 bytes, long int consumes 8, and int again consumes 4 bytes. So ideally it should be taking 16 bytes of memory, but ARM does a malign double. So the long actually consumes, instead of 8, it consumes 16 bytes. So when you are serializing an object, what you may run into memory issues. So what you have to do is specifically either specify this where you say align 8, so you actually make sure that only 8 bytes are being allocated for long int, or another option is there is an option called -malign -double in GCC. Suprabha may be talking about that. So -malign -double in GCC should automatically do this memory alignment for you. So I have just one more slide. Any more questions? Okay. So use inline, this is some few optimization tricks. So use inline functions instead of using short. Always use float instead of double, because we have a floating point processing unit, the FPU arithmetic unit, that's being enabled in Intel Atom platforms. So if you use floating point variables, your performance is going to be better. Multi-thread your code. Again, we have some tools that will help you in multi-threading your code, such as TBB. I'm sure someone else is going to cover that. And some high-performance compiler frags. I have just listed down a few here. Again, we'll be going through in detail about compilers in the tool section. That's all I have. I'm going to show you how to set up your NDK. Any questions? Right. So how do you, when you install your NDK, the installing NDK is nothing but unzipping your NDK zip file. So you go to developer.android.com, pick up the latest version of the NDK and unzip into one of your folders. So that is installation. So once you do that, in the NDK folder itself, you will be able to see some samples which you can use to get started with. How do you import? So you say import existing Android code into workspace, and then specify the root directory of your project, and then say finish. It's going to, sorry, I have imported all of my projects, so. Font size, I'm sorry? Okay. Is it too hard? Is the font too bad? All right. I'm sorry? No, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry about the font size. So once you have your project imported here, you have to put all your native code into the JNI folder. So all of your native code goes to the JNI folder, and you have to create an android.make file. The content of the android.make file would look like this. You don't have to worry, I can even show this to you offline. We can take the conversation offline. So the content looks like this. You have to create an application.make file and specify on what architecture you want your application to run. You can either do this, or in your project, properties, C++ build, you see NDK build here, you can even specify here. All right, app_abi equals x86, or if you specify all, it's going to compile for all platforms. Okay, so after that, you have to set the NDK path. So how do you do that? Windows, preferences, Android, NDK. So you specify your NDK wherever you unwrapped your NDK zip file. The folder's location is your NDK location here. After you do that, this might not show here, so let me try this. You right click on the project, Android tools, and say add native support. So once you do that, you've finished setting up your NDK platform, NDK project, and then you can get going with building and running your project. So that's it. And after that, you just have to build your project and then run as Android application. if you are running an x86 emulator, and if you want to run it on a real device, have anyone used ADB here, Android Debug Bridge? Yeah, you have to use ADB. If not, I can come to your tables and talk about ADB. ADB is a tool in which you copy your APK files from either your device to emulator or your device to another Android actual device. So you use ADB to install your APK onto the actual device and you can run it, right? Any questions? All right, thanks. I'll come over, I'm going to be here, so any questions we can always take it offline.